A lot of times when we talk about our journey, we don't talk about high school. Like nobody talks about high school. But you were literally in high school when you were founding the now billion-dollar tech company Crimson Education. So you need to talk about your high school experience like that. You were literally a teenager.
Sharndre Kushor is an award-winning entrepreneur, investor, and advocate for access, equity, and big dreams.
She is the co-founder of my new wellness app, Nebbi.
Every single task that is given to people on the Nebbi app has been really thoughtfully created to help you to experience something that you want to go back and experience again so that you feel good.
Sharndre has been recognized by Forbes, the BBC, and the New Zealand Prime Minister's Business Advisory Council. She brings a powerful mix of clarity, courage, and compassion to everything she does.
Let's welcome Sharndre to the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of Do Tell Relationship Podcast. Today, you're in for a real treat because my business partner and co-founder of Nebbi app is joining me for a really fun conversation. We're going to be talking about building products, platforms, and meaningful impact, but also building yourself along the way. It's about entering unfamiliar spaces, rewriting the rules, and staying grounded in purpose while you scale something from the ground up. We talk about Sharndre's journey as a founder, her role in co-creating the Nebbi app, and what it really takes to lead with heart in a space where tech meets mental wellness, from holding the vision through early challenges to making space for empathy and product design. This episode is a deep dive into resilience, clarity, and conscious innovation. It's for anyone launching something new, navigating fast growth, or learning to trust their instincts, especially when you're building something that hasn't existed before. Let's get into it. My guest today is Sharndre Kushor, an award-winning entrepreneur, investor, and advocate for access, equity, and big dreams. At only 19, she co-founded Crimson Education, which grew into New Zealand's latest billion-dollar unicorn, helping students around the world unlock opportunities at top universities. And she spent the past decade building businesses and backing ideas that create real, lasting impact. Over the past decade, she has built and scaled all kinds of tech-enabled businesses, from SaaS platforms to mobile apps, all with a focus on making real lasting impact. Sharndre has been recognized by Forbes, the BBC, the New Zealand Prime Minister's Business Advisory Council, and she brings a powerful mix of clarity, courage, and compassion to everything she does. Sharndre is also someone I've been very lucky to partner with. She is the co-founder of my new wellness app, Nebbi, and she's here to share more about her journey. Let's welcome Sharndre to the show. Sharndre, welcome. Welcome to the studio. It's so good to see you. I know it's early there, so thanks for joining us.
I have been really looking forward to this, and it's always tricky with time zones, but somehow we managed to always make it work.
Yes, Sharndre, you're currently in Australia?
Yes,
in Sydney.
Yeah, that's right. I live here now, and it's exciting. It's super. I'm from New Zealand, so this has been a little bit of a change, but it's really nice being here.
Okay, good. Okay, the way we like to start every episode is a fun little get to know you, and we call it walk away or walk through it. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions, and I can't wait to hear some of your answers. It's funny, it's always funny for me knowing the person that is joining me on the podcast on a little bit more intimate level, because in my mind, I try to guess what answers that you're going to have. Okay. So we'll see if I was right. Here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Don't be nervous. Everybody always says they're nervous for this portion of the show. Don't be nervous. It's great. You're going to be perfect. Okay. First question is, an investor shows interest in your company, but their energy is off and their values don't quite align. Walk away or walk through it and see if you can steer the conversation with confidence.
Walk away.
Okay. We're both laughing because this may or may not be a real life scenario.
Yes.
Okay. Next question. You've scaled your business, but you're being pressured to compromise your original vision to chase growth. walk away from the noise, or walk through it and recalibrate on your own terms?
That is a really hard question. I think that this is an important point to stop and actually consider both. Sometimes I think when you're too fixated on what you originally thought, you miss out on understanding the new stuff that you might have missed at the beginning. And so I think it's important to consider walking through, but then at the same time, when you're considering walking through, it's important to also stay true to yourself and stay true to your customers and the problem that you're trying to solve. And so that's where I think like having the courage to also walk away is so important. So I think that's like one of the tricky ones where you have to kind of assess as you go, because like there's so many different variables that are important, and there's room for both. Like I feel like with that one, like it could go either way.
Right. It's about compromise, finding the like balance in the situation, and being willing to kind of give a little bit and take a little bit.
Totally, totally. And I think like with what I've learned in business is that it's often about making the best decision that you can in the moment. And as long as you're taking time to consider like everything, that all the information that you have in front of you, and you make the most informed choice, then that's the best that you can do, right? Like it's a balance between keeping yourself accountable, but also being kind enough to yourself to say like, this is what I actually think is best given all the information I know.
Absolutely. Reassessing. I like that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start telling everybody whenever I might make a decision that's not favorable, I'm going to say, I made the best decision that I could make in that moment.
I think that's
Doesn't
so
mean
important.
that it's still a good decision today.
Yeah, or it could have been the best decision, right? Like, I think, being open-minded to both of those possibilities, and like knowing that if it wasn't the best one, you can always make a different choice in the future is like, that's so important.
That's the key point of that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Ooh, someone copies someone copies your idea and takes credit for it. Walk away and focus on what's next, or walk through it and speak up.
I would say that in most cases, imitation is the best form of flattery. And so I would probably move on and move forward. But at the same time, also try and like take a minute to understand like why they were copying it. Like, what is it about this thing that is like so great, that made them want to actually like do the same thing? But then also at the same time, ask another hard question, which is what made it so easy for them to copy? Because that might be something that like us as a business could think about a little bit more carefully to make ourselves more defensible. And I think in business, building a business that is defensible and difficult to copy is one of the things that's also really important. Like you want to make your business different and protected enough for that to not happen. And so sometimes as a founder, when people do end up copying what you're doing, it's a great reality check. Like it's a reality check because it makes you think about some of these harder questions.
Yes, you were doing so great. You said you were nervous. I want to ask you, okay, we're going to do one more.
Okay.
Okay. You've been approached to back a buzzy new tech startup. The pitch is polished, but the purpose is missing. Walk away or walk through it and mentor the team to build something more meaningful.
I think walk away. And the reason that I say walk away to that one is because I think it's actually really hard to motivate people who are only motivated by money. And in my life, I think like purpose is one of the most important things for me. It's kind of like a North Star. And I'd love to surround myself with people who are impact driven too. And I've definitely been in scenarios in the past where I've been working with people who are more driven by money than anything else. And if anything, like almost every single time, what I see happen is people get really burnt out because you push yourself so hard and you keep going and going and going, but there comes a point where if there's nothing else other than just like the benchmark that keeps moving based on your definition of success, which is money, it's really, really hard to keep that momentum up for a long time. And so I think you're kind of climbing an uphill battle if you choose to try and take that problem or that challenge on yourself to kind of change someone else's motivation. And so I think the best thing to do in that situation is actually reflect on, what purpose means to me. And so understanding, more clearly, and being able to spot where those opportunities lie, where there are purpose-driven opportunities and purpose-driven founders and purpose-driven businesses, so that it's easy to say, actually, like, I'm going to say yes to this because it feels right and it also looks right on paper.
I think that's a really important point. And, I just love the idea of just staying true to yourself and staying true to your why. And when it comes to purpose-driven work, it is challenging when you are not aligned in goals. I think that anytime you're going into business with anyone, it's going to become a relationship, just like any other relationship in your life. And you want to make sure when you're working with people, whether that be investors or partners or contributors, that you guys are aligned in your goals. And that way you're moving together and working towards that goal. And, and everyone's putting all like their positive energy into the project. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
One more thing
I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that something that someone said this to me like 10 years ago, and it's like never left me. They said that you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I think this is so relevant when it comes to like this conversation on purpose, because I feel like when you build a business and you're working with investors or your business partners or even your close team, like you end up spending so much time either like together trying to achieve whatever you're trying to achieve, or so much time making decisions where you're anticipating how the other people would also make decisions so that you're aligned. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if you don't get the values part right, and if you're not all motivated by the same thing, it's so hard to actually feel like you're all growing together. And so, making sure you pick the right 5 people to surround yourself with is so important, because it also becomes a reflection of you.
Right. This is wonderful. I feel like if you're going to keep dropping all these gems in this conversation, it's going to be a really great episode. It's going to be a really great episode anyways, but we haven't even gotten into like the meat of the episode. So this was fun. Really cool. Thank you for that. So now that you like a pro completed the walk away or walk through it section, I've learned so much already. Let's just jump into it. And I did give you a really and well-deserved lengthy intro before you came on with us today. But for anyone who's new to your story, can you share a little bit about who you are and the path that brought you into this world of purpose-driven tech?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from South Africa, and that's really important because my parents both grew up during the apartheid era in South Africa, where people were segregated by their race. And so my dad was a teacher before I was born, and many of his experiences teaching in South Africa during the apartheid was all about, really standing up for what you believe in and fighting for the things that you think you deserve. And so my dad worked in a school where there were no white students, and everyone there was either Indian or Asian. That was kind of how it was segregated at the time. And the students at his school had different textbooks to the students that went to schools of people of other races. And so in his school, he didn't have like the best textbooks to teach his kids. And so my dad was a really passionate guy, and he thought like justice and fairness was really important. And so he did a lot of campaigning during that time alongside Nelson Mandela to actually end the apartheid. And so when I was born in 1994, my parents called me their freedom baby, because that was also the year that Nelson Mandela became president of South Africa. And so, yeah, I guess I kind of came into this world at a really kind of critical point in my country's history, but also with, to parents who had so much hope for the future. And so growing up, I kind of heard all of their stories about protesting and about being able to stand up for what you believe in and fighting for what you think is right. And that kind of formed the kind of, I guess, the part of me that became so passionate about purpose and about making sure that my life is a life that leaves the world in a better place than if I hadn't been here in the first place. And so my family later immigrated to New Zealand when I was 8 years old. And I ended up doing all of my schooling there, and my undergrad degree too. And throughout my time at school, I was the kid who was never exceptional at any one subject, but pretty good at everything. And I really loved doing, every extracurricular that I could do under the sun. And I felt like that was almost my duty to my parents to be able to make the most of the opportunities that were given to me. And so I kind of had this extra layer that I learned about over time at high school, where I wanted to also share everything that I learned. And that's where I started doing more kind of leadership activities at school. And this is relevant because when I was in my first year of university, just by chance, I ended up meeting 5 students from New Zealand who were quite similar to me in terms of their background with school, but they were all going to study at Ivy League schools in the US or at Oxford or Cambridge. And what was mind blowing for me was not just the fact that they had navigated this pathway on their own, but also that they were paying less to go to these amazing schools in the US than I was paying to go to the University of Auckland. And so I became fascinated with global opportunities and global university options for students. And that's really where the idea for my first business, Crimson, came from. We created a platform that basically started with myself and one co-founder. We were both 18, and we wanted to connect the kids that we were tutoring part-time to mentors who could help guide them through these global university pathways and career pathways so that they can make the right choices for them. And at the time in New Zealand, all the smart kids were basically becoming lawyers, doctors, or engineers. And so if you loved history, or if you loved maths, or if you loved, a sport, it was really hard to see a pathway that felt right for you. And I think what's amazing about, the way the world's evolved is that there's so much more appreciation for making those choices based on your interest and your passion. And so Crimson, has evolved now to a business that is 13 years old, which is crazy. And it was one of New Zealand's newest unicorns, which is also kind of mind-blowing to me still. We have a team of over 1,000 staff now, and we raised over $100 million of capital, and it was kind of my first foray into tech. And I left my role at Crimson a few years ago, and since then I've been focused on really investing in purpose-driven businesses and helping to really cultivate a culture of solving important problems. And so it's been a really exciting journey, especially over the last 18 months since Nina and I met.
Which is what I was going to get to, but I think it's so interesting to me to listen to you speak so beautifully about your journey and how much joy and passion and compassion that comes through as you share your story. And a lot of this I've never even knew about you. There's I feel like we had kind of a whirlwind partnership, which we'll get into. But I think that the way you described your story, and I was listening as you were talking about your time in high school, and a lot of times when we talk about our journey and we talk about our past and we're kind of given our little spiel, our little intro, we don't talk about high school. Nobody talks about high school. But you were literally in high school when you were founding the now billion-dollar tech company, Crimson Education. So you need to talk about your high school experience that. You were literally a teenager, which is still mind-blowing to me. But it's wonderful to hear your full circle story. And you've accomplished so much, and you're so young, and you have a whole future ahead of you. And I talk to you like you are a child because you make me feel like a much older person sometimes. But it's really great to hear your story. It's so beautiful. So with that being said, Can you share a little bit about how our partnership came to be? Because it was a little bit of a whirlwind. I think without that one missing piece or that one missing human, then maybe it would have been a little bit different of a pathway. But can you share with everyone what drew you to the space and how we kind of connected?
Yeah, it was absolutely a whirlwind, and it was kind of one of those experiences that I look back on and I'm like, if I ever question whether there's fate, then this is my reminder that there is,
Mm-hmm.
because, us meeting was exactly that. So I spent a bunch of time in the US last year, about 3 months at the start of the year. And one of my closest friends is a wonderful human who lives in New Zealand now, but used to live in the US. And for the longest time, she had told me these beautiful stories about living in the US and Oklahoma, and how wonderful her time there was. And her time there was wonderful for many reasons, but the most important reason was the people that she met. And I keep hearing about this wonderful woman called Nina who, was so kind and, so ambitious to do amazing things for the world. And Nina and I had never met, but one of my closest friends had always kind of talked about her. And then I was in the US, and I was staying at this beautiful apartment in LA. And there was a shared space downstairs where residents from the building could go and spend time. Like, it was just like a giant lounge area. And I remember being down there, and there was someone who was sitting down there, and they had the Do Tell card game. And I was like so amazed because my friend had just told me a little bit about Nina and what she was doing now and the Do Tell card game. And I was like, oh my God, this is wild. And so, yeah, so I learned a little bit more about kind of all the things that Nina was doing and how much impact there was and intention there was behind like all of the parts of her ecosystem. And we ended up connecting just to talk about, the impact that she was trying to create through the community she was building and all of the projects that she had going on, which, is a lot. There's so much there. And that's really kind of how our conversation started around, what it means to build not just community, but an engaged community that we can add value to in an impactful way over a really long period of time. So, it was a wonderful, really kind of crazy experience that, just unfolded by itself. But here we are.
I know. I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like I was in a space where I knew, and it was a goal of mine, to create something in technology that could help people. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything about the tech industry at the time, but something that kept coming up and recurring for me was this call of action almost from within the mental health community to evolve and to grow and to create new avenues of tools and wellness tools and things that we could use and give to our communities and help people navigate their mental health and wellness. And so that always stuck with me. I went to a conference and I heard it. I listened to all the wellness podcasts, mental health podcasts. I heard it over and over and over again. And I also typically I feel like our relationship for me, our mutual friend, she was the big driver for me because I don't normally meet people. I'm a homebody. Like, I feel like it was kind of like when your friend introduces you or sets you up on a date, maybe, because you might have a little bit more faith in the situation because your friend knows you, right? And would hopefully never try to steer you wrong. So I feel like our relationship came on both ends with like an immediate trust
Totally.
in each other, and there was no like, show me your resume. Like, there was no background. We were like, oh, we met up, we had a conversation over lunch. It was perfect timing. We were both feeling inspired after our Benet and Why Not Foundation event. And we were like, yeah, this feels good. This is like, this feels right. So I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. It was definitely one of those, like, if it's meant to be, it will be. And it definitely was kind of moments.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the fun part. Drum roll. Let's talk about Nebbi. Let's talk about Nebbi. And, you know, you've built and scaled globally many tech businesses, but you've always led with impact first. From your perspective, what makes Nebbi different from the status quo?
I love this question because it's kind of the essence of what we're trying to build and what we're trying to achieve with Nebbi. But for me, Nebbi is the method or the tool that I think everyone needs to be able to integrate practices into their everyday to live the best day every day. And I think that this is just so important because we're living in a world now where there's so much noise, and because there's so much noise and so much stimulation, it's really hard for us to feel like we're grounded and we have, you know, some degree of control over how we're feeling, and that we're able to feel like we can actually choose to live a great day today if we want to. And so I think some of the kind of things that seem small and things that seem simple are often things that we forget. And so Nebbi is a platform that we've spent, you know, the last 18 months really trying to build to solve that problem. And the way that it looks and feels is that you log into an app. And when you log into the app, you do a check-in. And when you do the check-in, what we try and do is help you to really understand how you're feeling. So being able to identify the emotions that you feel and put a word to them and really like describe what's going on inside you. And then from there, once you've done that first part, the app recommends tasks that are specifically tailored to you and how you feel. And so every day you will get a selection of tasks that the app says would be great for you to complete. And they're designed to help shift your emotional state so that you can make that day great. And it's been an absolute pleasure and such an amazing learning experience for me working alongside Nina on this, because I have actually never met someone in my life until I never met anyone like, you know, until I'd met Nina, who had such a deep and rich understanding of people and their emotions and tools and tactics that you could actually use to feel like you're empowered. And so I feel like I've learned so much on this journey, and I'm just super excited about it because I think every person who downloads the app has the potential to learn all of those things now too, without going to therapy.
Yeah. And well, first of all, thank you. That's really, really nice of you to say, and makes me smile really big inside. I think that what has been really special and what really stands out listening to you talk about Nebbi is like the simplicity of it, right? And yes, there is a lot of noise. Since COVID, I feel like there's been a need for mental health and wellness content, apps, tools, access to mental health resources and care. And there was a call, like there was an answer, like there was a call, and then that call has been answered, I think, in so many ways. And I love the idea that so many people have kind of risen to the occasion to help provide information. I think that one of the things that really sets Nebbi apart is this idea of simplicity, because we're all busy. Like life can be a bit chaotic, and sometimes it's just hard to get in a routine. So the reoccurring thought and thing for me is like, now more than ever, our attention spans are really, really short, right? Where most of us are used to capturing information like as we scroll on Instagram, and you have like this much room in your head space per post, and then we're moving on to the next thing, right? It's a constant overload of information after information and noise, and it could feel noisy at times. So I think that Nebbi really helps. The simplicity of it and the intentionality of it is really exactly what the doctors ordered at this current time in our lives when everything seems so loud, right?
Yeah.
As far as, you mentioned therapy and Nebbi kind of being something, a tool that you can access that is simple and that's a bit more accessible. So we've been talking about how most people aren't really in crisis and they're not necessarily thriving either, right? I think that majority of us fall into that category. Things like therapy may feel too expensive. It could be too intimidating for some people. It could feel inaccessible, or it could feel like, yeah, just because we don't have the time to really invest in therapy. So all the wellness apps that there are out there, even with all of that, sometimes they might fall a little bit short. So taking into account all of your knowledge and experience, what gap is Nebbi feeling in the market and why do you feel it's needed right now?
So I think that we, as humans, we are naturally geared towards being critical of ourselves and wanting to do and be better. And I think that, as time goes on, we put more and more pressure on ourselves to try and be the best version of ourselves, regardless of the life stage that we're in, whether we're like, trying to be the best version of ourselves when we're at school, whether we're, trying to be the best version of ourselves as a parent or as a partner or as someone who's approaching, an age where they want to think about working less, like, or having to work more. Like, there's just always so much pressure and expectation. And I think that one of the things that we really lack is the tools and the knowledge and the information and the training almost on how to be able to tackle the feelings that come alongside all of those expectations that we put on ourselves. And everything you said about therapy, I think, is so right. Like, for many people, we don't feel like we need to go to therapy. Like, things aren't that bad. Like, I think, we feel like we have to reach a point of being in crisis before we take that step. And for many people, even taking that step in that point is difficult because of the cost. And so the gap that Nebbi fills is exactly that. So how do you build that toolkit of skills that you have and the knowledge that you have to be able to really start to intuitively check in with yourself and then take the steps that are helpful steps for you on that given day. And so I think it's, the being able to give people the tools, giving them the information and the education, but also allowing you to feel like you're really in control and empowered to take those steps on your own. That's all I think, really, really important. And there's no platform that exists like this, at the moment. And so typically when we think about mental health apps, we think about apps that help with, letting you feel grounded or calm or allowing you to experience moments of stillness through meditation. And those are all like really important skills to have. But unfortunately, I think for many people, they're hard things to put into practice every day. And so Nebbi, I think, is a really powerful platform to be able to give you tangible things that you can do every day to help you feel great and help you to, address and do the things that are important to you even better.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think that, a lot of what we are sometimes lacking and a lot of what we are sometimes searching for, but don't quite have the words to describe, is basically emotional self-efficacy, right? How can we identify our feelings and not just our overall general feeling, but really get beneath the surface and find deeper understanding in how we feel and figure out what behaviors we can do to help motivate how we feel so they can work hand in hand. And being able to have a little bit more control over the outcome of your emotions and your emotional wellness is, I think it's a luxury. And it's something that I think we're all seeking. And I feel and I hope that Nebbi is going to be that tool. And the other thing I would want to say and share about Nebbi, because as a licensed marriage and family therapist, I'm a huge advocate of therapy, but I do also understand that there are circumstances and situations where therapy is not always the first option, and it's not always accessible. And I do think that the amount of time that it takes to actually have a positive impact on your day, like what you're getting for what you're giving is so small. And I think that anytime we can be taking little tiny steps forward, that's a win, right? And that's what Nebbi's about. It's about celebrating the small wins, no matter how small they are, because each of those wins stacked up over and over again over time, that's what creates the big aha moment. That's what creates the huge, celebratory moment. It's just understanding the importance of daily emotional wellness that is really important. So thanks for sharing that. This is going to be fun. See, this is fun.
It's very fun.
This is a really interesting question, and I actually want to hear your take on this because we haven't really, let's just get into it. So a lot of apps today seem to want people constantly coming back for more. But Nebbi isn't designed to keep people glued to their screens. It's designed to help people learn about themselves, take action, and ultimately step away from their screens with more clarity, which is a very different model. Can you talk about how we approach that and what makes building impact-driven tech or tech like this focused on emotional growth so different from building tech for retention and entertainment?
This is such a great question, and it's not something that we have had a big conversation about with Nebbi yet, but it's something that I actually am so passionate about. And I think that my passion for this comes from the experiences that I had building an education technology platform first. So one of the things that I really believe and I'm so passionate about is that as human beings, the way that we set ourselves up for success in most facets of our life is to make sure that we have really great information and we're really educated on the things that matter to us and that are important in our everyday lives, so that we can make really great decisions. And reflecting on my experience with school all those years ago and the experience that I know many kids have at school now, unfortunately we just don't get taught these skills early on. And so that's difficult because we're kind of catapulted into the real world where there's so much going on and so many challenges that we experience and we have to face every day, and everyone's expected to just take it on the chin and be able to figure out how to deal with it. And the reality is that if we're not taught if we don't get given a toolkit and if we don't practice using the skills, then how are we expected to be able to actually thrive? And so for me, Nebbi is a platform that has been really crafted and built, I think, quite intentionally to be able to help you build those skills. Every single task that is given to people on the Nebbi app has been really thoughtfully created to help you to experience something that you want to go back and experience again so that you feel good. And so I think my opinion on this is that Nebbi is an app that's built to hopefully one day be deleted, so that you don't have to be a subscriber forever, but instead you're a subscriber for a meaningful amount of time where you are really committed to this journey that you're going on of learning about yourself and how you feel and how you can be more in control of things you can do every day, adding those little actions every day that make you feel good and make you feel like you have a range of different tools that you can draw on. But then also for there to come a time when you are ready to say, I've actually I'm intuitively doing this stuff. I'm intuitively checking in and I'm intuitively I'm doing this task, or I'm doing this activity that I've done on the Nebbi app a bunch of times and I know it works for me. And so that for me is true success, because I think true success in this space is creating a world where people have the information and the tools to really feel like they can tackle every day on their own, and they don't need to kind of be looking at their phones to tell them about how they do it. And so we'll be, in my eyes, successful if we can build an experience on the platform that lets people learn as they go and like know that it will work for them. What do you think?
That was beautifully said. I think that the goal for Nebbi, and this is an interesting question that I think will come up for us often. I like to think of it in terms of like the goals that we associate with therapy, right? Like when we go into therapy, the goal is not to then have to go see your therapist for everything that happens in your life moving forward, right? The goal of therapy is often tailored to help you find understanding. And then once you find understanding, to learn and be able to implement tools to help you cope and to help you manage the understanding of your emotions, your relationships, or your feelings that you're discovering during therapy, right? So when I look at the app and the way that we have positioned the app and what our goals and our values are for the app, which is to help others to grow their emotional intelligence and to grow and be able to be emotionally grow emotional self-efficacy, right? It's the same goal. It aligns really well with the goal that we as clinicians have for our clients in therapy, is to learn the tools to learn about yourself and to learn about your relationships and know which tool you want to grab from the toolbox when you're feeling any given way, no matter where you are or what day or what's going on in your life. So I will say that our goal, like these are the things that we will always stay true to as Nebbi, and it's sort of been our why from the beginning. And it's something that we would really like to hang our hats on. But the beautiful part of it is that there's always room for growth for us, even as an app, and ways to engage. And one of the things that I think we do already really well is getting feedback, right? And this has been really special about our group. I think that we understand the value of feedback, and we want to know what the users are saying. And with our founding member program, we've been able to really establish relationships and trust and understanding. And people are so, I love how people are so willing and eager to help us make sure that the app is great for other people that are coming onto the app. By the time this episode is live, you can go to the App Store and download Nebbi at Nebbi app now, actually. And this is not even a shameless plug. This is like a full-blown plug. But I think that just having people believe in the app and building and growing and taking feedback and improving is something that will help us with retention. Because I think what people really want is something that works and something that's true and feels real to them. And so that's what we hope to do, is stay true to ourselves and continue to grow with our users and our community.
Yeah.
Let's talk about emotional wellness, because this is a very different arena for you. Even though you sound like you could potentially I know it's been 18 months. You sound like you could potentially be a therapist of some sort by now. But what surprised you most about during the development process, either in how people actually engage with emotional wellness tools or in what tech is needed to do it differently to really meet them where they're at?
I think what surprised me the most was that it was the fact that the app space is just blowing up all the time. Like there's so many things, but the fact that the most simple and like straightforward solutions are often the ones that are overlooked. The mental health space is such a crowded space when it comes to technology and apps. Like there's just you could do a Google search and there'd be like thousands of articles every day that come out talking about products in the space. But what surprised me was the fact that before we even started building the app, we started talking to our audience, and we started asking them a little bit about what they were struggling with and what kind of solutions would actually work for them. And the most simple ones were the things that people wanted the most, and were also the things that, there was no app that was out there that was actually solving. And so I think that's probably been my biggest kind of revelation. But I guess one other revelation that I think I have been so blessed to kind of have experienced myself as a user on the app, and as someone who's gone through the process now of really thoroughly understanding the connection between like emotions and tasks, and all of these these actions and the small steps. It's just how powerful it is. Like I previously, prior to doing this with Nina, I guess I didn't have the repertoire of skills to really draw on myself. And so by going through this journey of really understanding myself and being able to try and improve my own literacy around my emotions and around like the actions that I could take every day, I feel like I've just become a better version of myself too. And so that's kind of been one of the really like important blessings, I think, through this process, because I don't think I could ever be true to myself in saying like this is something that we built and I stand behind and I believe, unless I'd actually seen that transformation personally too. And so yeah, that's been one of the powerful things.
It's so funny that you say that. I think for me, I'm always working on wellness, something wellness related, right? I'm always trying to help find new ways to have impact in the wellness space and raise mental health awareness. And every single time, without fail, whoever's coming along the journey in whatever capacity that they are coming along, they're always at the end of it. They're like, this was so therapeutic, even, though I was building out this website with all this code and it was grueling and whatever the case may be, reading the content was actually really helpful for me throughout the process. And you kind of become a wellness expert in your own right when you're working on a project like this. So it's funny. You're another one to add to the list for me.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I've heard every person in our team say the same thing as well. It's so true. And I guess it comes back to, the 5 people you spend the most time with are the ones that influence you the most. And so we've spent so much time really like trying to work together on this stuff and understand it deeply. And it's just amazing to see that everyone who spent the time on it has had such a positive, it's impacted them so positively in their lives. I think that is a real testament to the substance behind what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And our group and our ability to kind of put together a team, right? And build a team of support around Nebbi. Because there are a lot of us. I was thinking about that. There are a lot of us. There are a lot of us involved in building Nebbi. And it's been a really wonderful journey. Even when I think I'm being a little difficult, I'm always reassured that like this is nothing compared to. So that makes me feel good.
And it's a journey, right? Like I feel like every step has its own challenges, but it's also helpful to remind ourselves and each other that, this is a journey that we're only just starting. And like the way that it looks and feels will evolve over time. And, I think everything has an element of hard to it, but you just have to pick the things that you're willing to kind of go through the hard stuff for. Because like if you're impact driven and like if you want to lead with purpose, then I think that it all kind of makes sense eventually. So
yep, absolutely. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about that I think is really important that we touch on is this idea of privacy, right? A recent study found that 49% of large language model users who self-report ongoing mental health conditions are turning to tools like ChatGPT for support, some even using them as a kind of personal therapist. But one of the main reasons therapy works is because of the deep trust it builds. People feel safe knowing their thoughts, emotions, and experiences won't be shared without their consent. Even the founder of ChatGPT recently, I saw a clipping from a podcast or a show that he did where he was talking about the fact that this information that we are all entering into ChatGPT is not privileged and can be used and sold and whatever the case may be. So how are we ensuring that Nebbi protects user data and creates that same sense of safety when people can be where people can be open, vulnerable, and feel supported without fear?
That is such a great question, and it's such an important question. So one of the things that we as a team have been really selective on is who we work with, and making sure that the partners that we have, when we're building Nebbi, are the right partners for the values that we have as a team. And so we were really deliberate with choosing our technology partner. And we spent a really long time like researching different options and talking to different potential partners who we might work with. And there's so many that had different strengths, but ultimately we ended up choosing a partner who is an expert in this exact space. So we have been working with a really incredible company that has built tech products for actual like government health departments. And their experience is in being able to responsibly build and use technology to help solve human problems, but at the same time minimize and reduce all of the risk that comes around using technology to help solve human problems that are related to health. So I think most people don't want their health information to be shared, and when in a scenario where it is shared, they want to be asked. And unfortunately, if you work with the wrong people, your tech's not built properly, then that can sometimes be compromised. With Nebbi, that was a deliberate choice that we made, and we've specifically selected to work with a team who have so much experience in actually building the app so that it's protected. So each user, every time you log in and you put in how you feel and you get your tasks and you engage with the app, like all of your data is super secure. But then also at the same time, like the system behind the app and all of the information that the app does keep so that we can keep giving you the right tasks and make your experience really personalized. That information is also really tightly kept. And the technology that we use is similar to the technology that you would use in a government health department to manage everyone's health data. And so we have a lot of confidence in that. And I think that is also just meant to be something that protects everyone, of course, but also stays true to our values as a team. Like we would never compromise on the integrity of what we're doing with our community, and that's just how we've chosen to work from the start.
I think that that's a wonderful way to describe like our goals and tie it all together. I feel like, a lot of time people, when they want to be vulnerable, even if if Nebbi is your first experience using a mental wellness app, if this is your first entry point into that, we want to make sure that we're creating the most nourishing or nurturing and safe and calm environment that we possibly can, because we want you to really get the most out of using the app and being able to log how you feel and knowing that, we're not here to judge. We don't care where you started before you got here or what you're doing tomorrow. Like literally the app is for you and for the space that you're in that day, and that space is your own. And Nebbi's not going to fix your problems, and Nebbi's not going to fix you, because you don't need fixing. It's there to serve as a tool that you can call on to go out and live your life and grow and enjoy. But really, you're taking control of your own emotional wellness, and we're just here to support you along that journey. So privacy is certainly very important to us. And just as the clinical lead and the app being, therapist backed, and that being our driving force, right? Our driving force, thankfully, through this whole experience has been centered around our user and protecting our user and how our user is going to feel when and after they're using this app and when they're part of our community. And one of the benefits of that was always the emphasis and the priority that we put on having wonderful privacy policies that people could really trust in us. So that was a really big thing, and we did that with so much intention. I feel like you and we could probably talk about Nebbi forever.
Good.
I feel like we could probably talk about Nebbi forever, but what I want to do before you leave is I want to ask you a question, because anyone who's watching this interview, you'll be able to see how Sharndre really is such a light. She's so intelligent. She's so warm. She's so knowledgeable. But most importantly, she's so confident. And it like comes out of you, and you can really see that. So what are some of the habits or experiences that have helped you grow more confident over time?
This is a interesting question. And I think that my confidence came from really connecting with myself early on. Like, I think I've been really blessed to be raised and come from a family that is all about staying true to who you are. And what's been a big thing in my life, I guess, for as long as I can remember, is never being ashamed of like the values that you have or the things that you choose to do. And I think that that's kind of, the root of confidence for me, because I feel like I'm happy with myself. Like, I feel like I'm really happy with myself. I'm really happy with the things that I choose to spend time on and the people that I have in my life. And that makes it really easy to kind of be able to walk into any room and sit down at any table and just say, hey, this is me. I think we can sometimes experience self-doubt when we're comparing ourselves to others. And there's really like no, like it's hard that the benchmark will always change, and there'll always be different people around you, and the environment will change. But what always stays the same is you, right? Like, you are your number one companion in life. And so I think being able to really like meet yourself where you are, but also meet yourself with kindness and understanding and compassion and acceptance of who you are, what you value, and the people you choose to keep around you, like that is the real kind of key for me. So I think everything really starts there.
Wonderful. I can certainly see that you're five people that built this average in you, they must be really, really incredible. So I'm happy that has been your journey. This has been really, really fun. I think that it's good to really actually get to know you on a deeper level. Usually when we are chatting, we are pressed for time per usual and jumping through our little agenda and checklist. So this has been nice to actually really take time to have a conversation and get to know you and hear about your expertise, hear about your family, your upbringing, your history, and all the things that have come together to make you who you are today. So thanks for joining us on the podcast. Before you leave, though, there's one thing. We do play Do Tell card game.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you one of the questions from Do Tell card game, and then you're gonna be all set. So I guess I'll like mix them up. Let's see. I like this one for you.
Okay, let's do it.
What does having a good life mean to you?
Oh my gosh, this is something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. What does a life well lived look like? So for me, it is a life that's filled with love. So I spend a lot of time with my family and my partner and my close friends. And I think, as I kind of approach a stage in my life where I'm building my own family, I realized that like being intentional with that is so important. For me, another important pillar is purpose. So I want to be 80 years old and looking back on my life and think that every chapter in this book of my life was really intentional and filled with purpose and impact. And then I think the last pillar is actually really simple. It's just happiness. And I think that making choices every day that are based on what makes you happy and like fills your life and your world with joy is a really great way to live a good life. And so for me, it's really those three things. I think it's about connection, it's about purpose, and it's about like being able to stay connected to myself and build a world and a life that feels good.
Great. Well, this has been wonderful.
Yes, thank you so
for
much
joining me. If you have not downloaded Nebbi yet,
you should download it.
You can get Nebbi in the App Store, in the Google Play Store. It's available now, and I hope you love it. This has been such a wonderful journey, and I can't wait for all the exciting things that we have coming up, because we have a lot of exciting things coming up.
We do.
And I'll probably talk to you tomorrow. I don't know.
Yes,
Thanks for joining us on the Do Tell Relationship Podcast, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Do Tell Relationship Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you are listening to this episode and leave us a comment as well. And lastly, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at the dotellpodcast@gmail.com or DM us at BeneXNina on Instagram. See you next week with another exciting guest.